Strategies for achieving your financial freedom. Introduction. The call to power. You were never meant to be average. From the moment you became conscious of the world, there were two paths laid before you, one paved with comfort, safety, and mediocrity, the other rough, uncharted, and utterly liberating. One enslaves you softly, the other frees you through fire. This book is not for those content with illusions of security. It is for the ambitious, the ones who have felt a quiet storm brewing in their soul, a refusal to settle, an unwillingness to be governed by someone else's idea of worth. This is a manual for those who dare to take command. Wealth in its purest form is not money. It is power. The power to choose how your time is spent. The power to say no. The power to protect what you love. The power to walk away from anything that no longer serves you. And the power to stand tall in a world that tries to shrink you. But let us be clear. Power is not given. It is earned. It is built. It is taken. Too many have been taught to see wealth as a mystical goal, something that just happens if you're lucky enough. But wealth is not a miracle. It is a consequence, a natural result of principles understood and strategies executed. Wealth is a pattern, and patterns can be studied. Patterns can be replicated. The wealthy are not a mystery. They are a blueprint. This book is your entry into that blueprint. You will not be coddled here. You will not be fed comforting myths. You will be shown the truth, unfiltered, unvarnished, and fully in your control. Over the next 10 chapters, we will deconstruct the mindset, behaviors, and frameworks that lead to long-term financial empowerment. You will learn how to think like a strategist, act like a tactician, and move like a visionary. Each chapter builds upon the last, each insight a stepping stone in the architecture of your wealth. But let me offer you a warning now. With knowledge comes responsibility. Once you see the game for what it is, you cannot unsee it. Once you understand your power, you cannot claim ignorance. From that moment forward, your life becomes your fault and your masterpiece. In every page, in every principle, lies a commandment. Do not wish for wealth. Build it. This book isn't about hustle culture or empty affirmations. It's about clear thinking, intelligent planning, and relentless execution. It is about strategies, cold, proven, effective, and while emotion may inspire action, it is discipline that makes wealth inevitable. You will be trained in both. We will cover the following. Chapter 1. The Wealth Paradigm. Understand the invisible system you were born into and how to escape it. Chapter 2. Psychological Warfare. Rewrite your relationship with money and status. Chapter 3. Income Architecture. Construct the foundations of cash flow and value. Chapter 4. Ownership over labor. Why control beats hard work every time. Chapter 5. Leverage and scale. Multiplying your efforts through systems and people. Chapter 6. Strategic spending. Managing money like a chess grandmaster. Chapter 7. Investment thinking. Making your money work while you sleep. Chapter 8. Adaptability and timing. Capitalizing on cycles, chaos, and opportunity. Chapter 9. Protection and power. How to defend your wealth once acquired. Chapter 10. Legacy engineering. Designing freedom beyond your lifetime. Each chapter is a lesson, each page a tool, and when these tools are used correctly, they forge a different kind of human, one who is not just rich, but sovereign. Wealth, ultimately, is a mirror. It reflects who you are, what you value, and how you think. And if you don't like what it's reflecting now, good. That means you're awake. That means change is possible. But this book is not just a collection of techniques. It is an awakening, a challenge, a system, A set of rules that, when understood, bend the game in your favor, but only if you apply them without excuse, without delay, and without asking for permission. There is no savior coming. You are the savior. There is no perfect moment. The moment is now, and there is no other life waiting for you. This is it, you. Chapter 1. The Wealth Paradigm. You were born into a system, not by choice, not with consent. You arrived into a world already constructed, rules etched into the economy, behaviors wired into society, and beliefs implanted into the culture around you. From your earliest memory, you were taught to obey this system. Go to school, get a job, stay employed, retire at 65. What you were never told was that this path was designed not for freedom, but for control. Most people live their entire lives inside this invisible cage, never once realizing the door was never locked. The wealth paradigm begins here, understanding that the current system is not built to make you rich, it's built to keep you dependent. Every institution reinforces this: schools that teach obedience over critical thinking, jobs that reward loyalty over ownership, and media that glorifies spending while hiding the consequences of debt. They are not conspiring against you. They are simply maintaining their own survival, and their survival depends on your submission. But when you begin to question, really question, why things are the way they are, a shift occurs. You begin to see behind the curtain. You begin to notice that the people who accumulate wealth are not necessarily smarter or more talented. They simply understand the rules you were never taught. They play a different game. The game of wealth is not about working harder. It's about seeing differently. It is about recognizing patterns, leveraging psychology, and positioning yourself where money flows naturally. Most of society has been conditioned to trade time for money, believing that labor is the only legitimate path to prosperity. But labor is limited. You have 24 hours a day, and so does everyone else. If your income is tied to time, your ceiling is already set. The truly wealthy escape this constraint by shifting from labor to leverage. They do not sell hours, they create systems. They do not chase money. They attract it by building things that continue to produce value long after their initial input. They do not fear risk. They calculate it, control it, and use it as a tool. But before they ever earned a dollar, they adopted a mindset alien to most. They see money as a servant, not a master. The paradigm you must enter is one where money is a tool of freedom, not a measure of worth. It is not to be worshipped nor feared, but understood and commanded. If you remain emotionally attached to money, if you envy it, resent it, fear losing it, you are still a slave to the system. And no matter how much you earn, you will remain poor in power. Power begins with perception. So ask yourself, who taught you what money is? What did they gain from your belief? What if everything you think you know is outdated, incomplete, or deliberately misleading? These questions are not philosophical, they are strategic. Every general surveys the battlefield before he makes his move. Every master strategist studies the terrain before planting his flag. And if your goal is financial sovereignty, your first move must be to destroy the mental map that has kept you small. That map was written by someone else. Now it is time to write your own. The wealth paradigm demands that you become a creator, not a consumer. That you shift your identity from earner to builder. You must stop asking what job pays best, and begin asking what problem you can solve, what system you can create, what value you can replicate. This page marks the beginning of a new vision. Not one borrowed from family, teachers, or society, but one authored by you. A life where you control the inputs and own the outputs. where your income is not determined by hours, but by insight, where your wealth is not inherited, it is engineered. You will have to unlearn what you've been taught. You will have to separate truth from tradition, and you will need to become dangerous in your knowledge, focused in your execution, and fearless in your independence. This is not about rejecting society. It is about mastering it, understanding its design so well that you can step outside of it when you choose, profit within it when you need, and rise above it when you're ready. Wealth is not an end. It is a gateway, and the paradigm shift begins the moment you stop chasing and start creating. Underscore, 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 underscore. To truly exit the system, you must first decode it. Understand this: the economy is not just numbers on screens or stocks and bonds traded in skyscrapers. It is behavior. It is belief. It is the collective agreement of millions who have been conditioned to value things they do not need, to spend money they do not have, and to sacrifice time they can never get back. This machine does not run on logic. It runs on emotion, your emotion. The first lever of wealth is awareness. Most people go through life financially blind. They don't see the traps in front of them, subscriptions that bleed them monthly, credit cards that chain them invisibly, habits passed down like heirlooms from generations that never knew freedom. These are not accidents, they are by design. You must become a student of the design. Study how money moves. Study how the rich behave. Not how they spend, but how they think, how they wait, how they plan. There is a stillness to them, a discipline. They do not move with the crowd, they move with precision. The masses are impulsive, the wealthy are strategic. This difference alone is the chasm between poverty and prosperity. Take a moment and reflect. Where does your money go? Not just physically, but energetically. Do you spend to feel better, to distract, to impress? Every dollar you spend is a vote for the future you're building. If your money is voting against your own goals, it is not a lack of income that binds you. It is a lack of clarity. Clarity is power. Clarity allows you to say no without guilt. It allows you to delay without pain. It transforms sacrifice into strategy. When you are clear about what wealth means to you, not what society tells you, not what influencers flaunt, you begin to build a system around that clarity. Not a budget, not a hustle, a system. This is how the wealthy operate. They engineer systems that do the work. They plant once and harvest for years. They think in decades, not paychecks. While most are trying to survive until Friday, they are designing their next decade. While most react to bills, they are positioning for opportunities. This isn't a matter of being smarter. It's a matter of thinking differently. The good news, that thinking can be learned. Begin with detachment. Remove the emotional fog. Stop seeing money as a source of stress or joy. See it as data. Each dollar earned, spent, or saved is a data point that tells a story. And the most important story is the one that reveals your patterns, because once you see a pattern, you can break it or scale it. This is the wealth paradigm. You are not your income. You are your behavior. And behavior can be rewired. But rewiring requires discomfort. You will need to question beliefs that comforted you. You will need to separate identity from routine. If you have defined yourself by struggle, by scarcity, by getting by, then you must kill that version of yourself to birth the next. This is not poetry. This is necessary. There are no shortcuts in this work. Only shifts. The shift from consuming to investing. The shift from reacting to anticipating. The shift from victimhood to ownership. Every wealthy individual you admire made this shift, whether consciously or through sheer force of necessity. They abandoned the narrative of waiting for the raise, for the promotion, for the perfect moment, and began building something that could grow with or without them. You must do the same, and you will not be applauded for this at first. You will be misunderstood, perhaps even mocked. That is the tax of independence. But the returns are generational. When you walk the path of strategic wealth, you don't just change your life. You change the blueprint for those who follow. Let others chase the symbols of wealth. You will build the structure. Let others seek validation through displays. You will seek leverage through discipline. You are now in possession of a rare perspective. You can either ignore it and remain in the system, or embrace it and begin to design one of your own. Remember, systems create results. And right now, whether you know it or not, you are living in one. The question is, did you choose it? If not, now is the moment to begin. Underscore, 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 underscore. There comes a moment when the illusion breaks. You look around and realize the wealthiest people aren't working the hardest. They're not the first ones in and the last ones out. They're not sacrificing their health for a paycheck or trading irreplaceable time for temporary rewards. Instead, they're operating on a different set of principles, ones invisible to the average eye. These principles are not secret. They're simply unpopular. Unpopular because they demand responsibility. Unpopular because they reject entitlement. Unpopular because they strip away excuses. The first principle is this: you are your greatest asset. Not your job, not your resume, not your degree. Your ability to think critically, to solve problems, to adapt faster than the environment changes. If you rely solely on credentials, you have surrendered your power. But when you develop skills that compound, skills of communication, persuasion, creation, you become irreplaceable. The system does not reward uniqueness. It rewards conformity. But wealth rewards uniqueness. It rewards vision. You must begin to see yourself as a producer, not just of work, but of value. What value can you create repeatedly, at scale, without sacrificing your soul in the process? This is where the wealthy begin. They design lives that amplify their strengths and eliminate dependency. The poor chase jobs. The rich create ecosystems. An ecosystem is a living, breathing design of income streams, leverage points, and strategic positioning. It is the opposite of survival mode. Instead of reacting to financial pressure, you proactively engineer a structure that supports you, even when you're not working. This could be a business, a portfolio, intellectual property, a brand, anything that works while you sleep. But ecosystems require foresight. They are not built in panic. They are built with intention. That leads us to the second principle. Money flows to structure. This is why disorganized people rarely hold on to wealth. Money avoids chaos. It needs order, flow, direction. When you lack systems, you bleed energy. You make emotional decisions. You chase rather than attract. Structure transforms your money from a source of anxiety into a source of certainty. Build the structure first. The money will follow. Create clarity around your inputs.
what skills, knowledge, or products you can create. Then map the outputs, how that value reaches others, and how it returns to you. Don't romanticize the hustle. Hustle is what you do when you have no systems. Systems are what you build when you're serious. The third principle: time is your only true currency. People say time is money. They are wrong. Time is infinitely more valuable. You can always earn more money. You will never earn more time. Once you internalize this, everything changes. You stop giving your time away freely. You stop associating value with busyness. You begin measuring success not by effort but by ownership. Ask yourself this: who owns your time? If it's not you, you're not free. And if you're not free, your wealth is an illusion. Many people live like economic hostages, earning just enough to stay afloat, never enough to escape. Their ambitions are capped, not by intelligence or ability, but by exhaustion. They are too drained to think differently, too invested in the lie to question it. This is why the paradigm shift is so radical. It requires you to slow down and see, to step out of motion and into awareness, to ask not how do I make more money, but how do I build a life where money is no longer the dictator of my choices. That question alone can begin the shift. And when it does, the final principle becomes clear. Wealth is internal before it is external. If you are disorganized, impulsive, or reactive in your thinking, your bank account will reflect that chaos. You must become the kind of person who can handle abundance before abundance arrives. This is not mysticism, it is mechanics. If you gave $1 million to someone with a scarcity mindset, it would be gone in a year. But if you gave someone with a wealth paradigm a single opportunity, they would multiply it into an empire. Why? Because of how they see. Wealth is built in the mind before it manifests in the world. It is sustained by discipline, protected by strategy, and expanded by vision. If you do not shift your paradigm, you will sabotage every opportunity that comes your way. Not because you are incapable, but because you are misaligned. You are not here to memorize tips. You are here to become something new. Let this be your beginning, not just of learning, but of restructuring. Question everything, study relentlessly, build intentionally, operate from clarity, and most of all, protect your attention. Because where your attention goes, your life follows. You are now standing outside the system, and once you've seen the machine for what it is, you can never go back. Welcome to the paradigm shift, the paradigm shift, the paradigm shift.
Chapter 2. Before any fortune is built in the world, it is first built in the mind. You are not fighting the market, the government, or even the economy. The most formidable opponent you will ever face in your pursuit of wealth is your own psychology. Your fears, impulses, self-doubt, and inherited narratives form the internal battlefield that determines whether you rise or remain subdued. Understand this: the game of wealth is 80% psychology and only 20% mechanics. And yet, most people obsess over tools, investment platforms, side hustles, budgets, while leaving their mental operating system untouched. It's like trying to install high-performance software on a corrupted hard drive. You may run for a while, but eventually the system crashes. What beliefs do you currently hold about money? That it's scarce, that it's dirty, that you're not worthy of having too much of it. These aren't just harmless thoughts, they are silent saboteurs. Every time you feel guilty spending, anxious saving, or unworthy of charging more, understand that you are in the grip of psychological warfare, and your opponent knows all your weaknesses, because it is you. From a young age, your environment programmed your financial identity. Perhaps you grew up hearing arguments about money, witnessing financial fear in your household, or observing resentment toward the rich. Whether you realize it or not, those moments wrote code into your subconscious. That code still runs your financial life today. But here's the truth. You are not your programming. You are the programmer. You have the power to rewrite the narrative. But to do that, you must confront it. You must be willing to unearth the hidden stories you tell yourself. I'm just not good with money. If I get rich, people will judge me. Making money is stressful. It's selfish to want more. Every single one of these beliefs is a seed. And if you water it with repetition, it will grow roots so deep it becomes indistinguishable from your identity. This is how people trap themselves, not with reality, but with repetition. They live out beliefs as if they were facts. But wealth is not emotional. It is mathematical. It does not care if you feel guilty. It does not ask if you're good enough. It follows rules, rules that favor clarity, action, and strategic thinking. If you cannot detach your emotions from your financial decisions, you will be at war with your own potential. You must begin to separate feelings from facts. Feeling broke is not the same as being broke. Feeling rich is not the same as being rich. The game of wealth is not won by how you feel. It is won by what you consistently do despite how you feel. This requires emotional discipline, and emotional discipline is what separates the builders from the dreamers. The builders do not wait to feel motivated. They act, they do not react to temporary discomfort. They remain aligned with long-term direction. They do not let fear dictate their pace. They use fear as a compass, an indicator that something important is at stake. You will be tempted to shrink, to play small, to stay safe. That temptation is not weakness, it is programming. But here's the liberating truth. You can override it. Through repetition, through new behavior, through deliberate exposure to discomfort. Every time you act against your fear, you rewrite your internal script. Every time you choose strategy over emotion, you strengthen your mental architecture. Eventually, wealth becomes inevitable, not because you're lucky, but because you've rewired yourself to behave like someone who creates it. This is the warfare that must be won, not once, but daily. And it is a war that never truly ends. It simply becomes easier with mastery. The enemy is always within, but so is the victory. Underscore, 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 underscore. To master wealth, you must first master yourself. That means mastering the mental triggers that have quietly ruled you for years. The fear of failure, the anxiety of judgment, the paralysis of uncertainty. These are not surface-level issues. They are deep-rooted psychological mechanisms, evolved to protect you, but in the modern world, they often sabotage you. Most people don't build wealth not because they're incapable, but because they are emotionally unequipped for the process. They flinch at discomfort. They confuse safety with stagnation. They mistake movement for progress. They tell themselves they're being realistic, when in truth, they're just afraid of the consequences of believing in something greater than their past. And wealth by its nature demands belief in delayed gratification, in unseen potential, in future payoffs not yet tangible. If your mind is wired for immediate comfort, you will trade long-term gain for short-term relief every single time. You'll spend rather than invest. You'll complain rather than plan. You'll retreat when resistance hits, rather than push forward when it matters most.
You must retrain your instincts. Start by observing your inner dialogue. How do you speak to yourself when money is tight? Do you spiral into panic, or do you calmly assess your position and strategize? Do you respond with blame or with responsibility? The way you speak to yourself in moments of pressure reveals the depth of your conditioning, and more importantly, it reveals where your next evolution must occur. Begin practicing mental audits. Catch the default thought patterns before they dominate you. When something unexpected happens financially, do you immediately go into scarcity mode? When someone else succeeds, do you feel inspired or threatened? When you talk about money, is your language empowering or diminishing? These micro moments are where the war is waged. Not in grand gestures, but in quiet decisions, in unseen reactions, in the stories you tell yourself when no one is watching. And here's a brutal truth: your results don't lie. If you are not where you want to be financially, it is because your current psychological framework cannot sustain the results you desire. And that's not shame, it's intel. It's your cue to rewire, to upgrade, to outgrow your current identity. Transformation begins not with hustle, but with awareness. Because when you see the pattern, you gain control over it. And when you control the pattern, you control the outcome. The wealthy do not think in terms of lack. They think in terms of leverage. When something breaks, they don't see failure. They see data. When a strategy doesn't work, they iterate, not collapse. This is not positivity. It's psychology forged in fire, built by years of seeing money as neutral, not emotional, not moral, just mechanical. You must become the same. You must remove emotion from money, not your humanity, but your reactivity. If a number in your bank account dictates your self-worth, you are still in chains. If your financial status determines your mood, you are not free. You are not rich until money loses the power to govern your identity. This shift does not happen overnight, but it begins the moment you decide to separate your value from your net worth. You are not defined by your financial past. You are defined by your ability to evolve in the present, and wealth is the byproduct of that evolution, consistent, strategic, and psychological. So train your mind like you would a weapon. Feed it clarity, not chaos. Challenge it with action, not overthinking. Guide it with principles, not emotions. Because until you win the war within, no amount of income will be enough. You'll sabotage the gains. You'll chase dopamine, not discipline. And you'll repeat cycles masked as progress. But the moment you master the battlefield of your mind, you become unstoppable. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become unshakable. This is your true edge. Underscore, 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 underscore. You cannot conquer the external world until you have command over your internal one. That command starts with a decision, not a loud dramatic vow to get rich, but a quiet, unshakable commitment to become mentally disciplined. Because true wealth does not come to those who simply want it. It comes to those who are prepared to manage it, to sustain it, and to grow it without being devoured by it. Emotional self-mastery is the foundation of that preparation. Understand the path to financial independence will not feel linear. It will test you, distract you, tempt you with comfort at the exact moment when you need clarity. You will lose people along the way, some because they doubt you, others because your growth confronts their stagnation. You will have days when the old story whispers louder than the new one you're writing. This is where most give up, not because they ran out of money, but because they ran out of nerve. But wealth rewards endurance, not just physical grit, but psychological stamina. The ability to keep moving when the reward is not immediate. The ability to delay validation. The ability to act from vision, not emotion. That's the battlefield most never enter. They stay on the surface, chasing tactics, clinging to motivation, mistaking activity for progress. But activity without direction is noise. Wealth is built in silence, in repetition, in choosing the hard decision no one applauds you for. You must get comfortable with being misunderstood. You must detach from needing others to believe in your journey. Because when you start behaving differently, investing instead of spending, planning instead of reacting, building instead of consuming, people will not understand. Let them misunderstand. You are not building this life for their comfort. You are building it to reclaim your autonomy. And autonomy is the true destination of wealth. Not just riches but freedom. Freedom from fear, from dependency, from pretending. And to reach it, you must develop a new identity, one that does not flinch when the numbers drop, when the plan delays, when the pressure builds. That identity is forged through process. Create rituals that reinforce your focus. Protect your mornings. Audit your inputs. Spend less time reacting to content and more time reflecting on strategy. Be ruthless with your environment. If your circle normalizes excuses, scarcity and chaos, you will be infected. Upgrade your influences or be consumed by them. Mental environment is as crucial as financial environment. You become what surrounds you, visibly and invisibly. One dangerous myth is that your mindset will automatically change once you make it. That's false. Your mindset must change before you make it. It is the very thing that unlocks the results. If your mind is still tied to survival, no income will feel secure. If your self-worth is tied to money, no amount will feel like enough. And if you secretly believe that success will isolate you, or that wealth makes you a target, or that having money is immoral, you will find a way to sabotage it, consciously or not. This is why some people spend decades earning and still have nothing to show for it, because their internal ceiling was never raised. And no external result can rise higher than that ceiling. Your job now is to raise it, step by step, belief by belief, action by action. Replace survival habits with strategic ones. Replace scarcity thoughts with possibility models. Replace reactionary decisions with long-term frameworks. And above all, know this: the transformation will not feel dramatic. It will feel subtle, quiet, boring even. But beneath the surface, everything is changing. You are no longer operating from fear. You are no longer chasing someone else's version of wealth. You are building with intent, fortified by clarity, unshaken by noise. That is psychological freedom. That is the beginning of power. And from power, wealth becomes inevitable, becomes inevitable, becomes inevitable.
Chapter 3. Income Architecture. Once the mind is fortified, strategy becomes the weapon. It's no longer about chasing income randomly. It's about constructing it deliberately. The wealthy don't stumble into income. They build frameworks, foundations, blueprints. They understand that wealth is not created in bursts. It is engineered through architecture. This is where most people fail. They treat income as a singular source, a job, a paycheck, a trade of hours for dollars. They ask how to make more, without ever asking how to design better. That's not income mastery. That's dependency disguised as diligence. True income architecture begins with a principled, diversified control. You want income that doesn't rely on your presence, your permission, or your performance every single day. You want income that breathes without you, that scales, that multiplies. To achieve this, you must understand the layers. First layer: active income. This is where everyone starts. You trade time, energy, or skill for money. It's direct, immediate, predictable, but it's also limited. There are only so many hours you can sell. So the first goal here is not to escape it overnight, it's to extract leverage from it. If you're going to work actively, do it strategically. Choose work that teaches you valuable, transferable skills. Use your job to learn on someone else's dime. Funnel as much of that income as possible into tools that create passive income. Second layer: semi-passive income. This is the transition zone. Think of things like freelancing at scale, building a client base, offering digital services, licensing work. You're still involved, but less so. The money doesn't require your constant real-time effort. It benefits from systems, schedules, automation. It's the bridge between survival and sovereignty. Third layer: passive income. This is where the architecture matures. You create systems, investments, intellectual property, businesses, royalties, automation that continue to generate income regardless of your daily involvement. This is not a myth. It's not easy, but it is mechanical. It requires the upfront work of system building and the ongoing discipline of optimization. Passive income is the byproduct of intentional design, and it is what frees you, not just financially, but mentally. When income becomes systemized, your decisions shift. You're no longer reactive. You're no longer hustling for your next check. You start thinking like a strategist, not a worker. You seek opportunities that build upon themselves. You spend time building assets, not performing tasks. The masses seek income that supports a lifestyle. The wealthy build income that sustains an empire. This architecture is not about complexity. It's about intentional structure. Most people try to earn more by doing more, but more action without better design is just exhaustion with a higher tax bracket. Real mastery is earning more while doing less, but thinking better. And to think better, you must understand leverage points. Every piece of income architecture must be designed with leverage in mind. Can this scale without me? Can I multiply the impact of one action? Can this generate revenue without constant oversight? If the answer is no, you're not building, you're babysitting. There is no honor in hustle for hustle's sake. There is only reward in intelligent construction. The goal is not to work forever. The goal is to work wisely now, so you don't have to work later. This requires patience. The architecture may take months, even years to solidify. But once it's built, you are free. Not because money is flowing endlessly, but because your mind is no longer trapped by desperation. You no longer ask, how can I make money this month? You ask, how can I build something that pays me for years? That question changes everything. Underscore, 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 underscore. Once you grasp the structure, you must begin applying it, because theory without execution is financial fantasy. The first and most critical step is to assess your existing income streams, not just how much they provide, but how they operate. Dissect them. Ask yourself, how dependent is this income on my daily effort? If I stopped working tomorrow, how long would the income continue? What knowledge,
skill or system would make this stream more efficient. This is where awareness turns into strategy. You don't need 10 income streams to begin. You need one that you fully understand and control. Depth before breadth. A single stream that is well built is more powerful than 5 chaotic ones that leak from every side. Begin with what you already do. What skill are you being paid for right now? Writing, managing, selling, coding, teaching, whatever it is. Ask how you can extract leverage from it. Could it be packaged, automated, licensed, sold as a course, taught to others, delivered through software instead of labor? This is how active income evolves. It stops being a trade of hours and becomes the seed of something scalable. The mistake people make is assuming they need to start from scratch. You don't. You start by refining, by eliminating waste, by asking better questions about your current income source. The question is never just how much does this pay? The real question is, what else can I turn this into? Wealth builders see income not as an end but as a gateway. They constantly ask, how do I make my money work harder than I do? And that leads to the next layer, reinvestment. Too many people treat income like a reward. They spend it emotionally. They see a paycheck and start plotting vacations, gadgets, upgrades. That mindset is a trap. Every dollar earned is a tool, a brick, a piece of your freedom. Until your architecture is solid, that money should be used as fuel, not confetti. Reinvestment doesn't just mean stocks or real estate. It means reinvesting in your education, books, mentors, courses, your infrastructure, software, automation tools, your brand positioning, marketing, design, your health, because burnout bankrupts everything. Reinvestment is not sexy. It's not flashy. It doesn't impress anyone in the short term. But it compounds, quietly, relentlessly. And 5 years later, those who treated money like a weapon have systems that print income, while others are still starting over every January. The people who seem lucky later are often just those who reinvested earlier. And once the reinvestment phase begins to pay dividends, you enter a new mindset entirely, one where money begins to chase you. Not because of fame or luck, but because you have assets that solve problems. Because you've positioned yourself as a source, not a seeker. Income architecture is the transition from wage earner to value creator. It's the difference between waiting to be chosen and building something that cannot be ignored. It's what separates those who work for decades with little to show, from those who build something once that pays them for life. The final truth is this: if your income still demands your presence, your freedom is an illusion. If your income stops when you stop, your empire is still just a job in disguise. But if your income continues, even when you sleep, rest or pivot, you are not just earning, you are owning. That is the aim of income architecture. Not just more money, but more power over time. Underscore, 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 underscore. Must stop thinking like a laborer and start thinking like a designer. A laborer asks, how can I earn more? A designer asks, how can I earn more? A designer asks, how can I build something that earns without me? This mindset shift is everything. It separates you from the endless cycle of working to live and positions you to live, because your work, your architecture is doing the earning for you. And yet, there's a subtle trap here. Many chase passive income without building active excellence. They skip steps. They want the castle before they've drawn the blueprint. They copy surface-level tactics from people online, never realizing that the foundation is what keeps everything from collapsing. True architecture is unsexy at first. It's spreadsheets, systems, iterations. It's refining your offer until it solves a specific problem. It's optimizing your delivery, automating what can be automated, documenting what you repeat, and understanding every lever in your structure. Your job is not just to earn, it is to build something that earns intelligently. Most people live inside income cages, a job they can't quit because of lifestyle creep, a business that demands more of their time the more it grows, a freelance hustle that pays well but never scales beyond their own bandwidth. These are golden traps. They look like success from the outside but feel like imprisonment on the inside. Income architecture liberates you from those cages, but only if you build with ruthless clarity. Every stream you design must answer 3 questions. 1. Can this be duplicated? 2. Can this be delegated? 3. Can this survive without me? If the answer is no, you're not scaling, you're sprinting on a treadmill. Now let's talk about the systems that scale. If you sell a service, can you turn it into a course or subscription? If you run a business, can you replace yourself in the operations? If you create content, can you monetize it with recurring revenue? If you invest, can you automate reinvestment and reduce oversight? The game is not to do more work, it's to embed intelligence into your income sources. That intelligence is what allows you to step back, reallocate your attention, and diversify without burnout. And diversification is not about chasing shiny objects. It's about building resilience. If one stream dries up, the others continue. If one system fails, your foundation remains. This is how true financial power operates, not by hoping nothing breaks, but by preparing structures that absorb shocks and still deliver results. The final evolution in income architecture is ownership. You must stop renting your time and start owning your ecosystem. Ownership means you hold the levers, you control the asset, you keep the profits. It's the opposite of dependence. If your income still requires permission from someone else, you're not free. Own your offer, own your audience, own your platform, and eventually, own your equity. The highest level of income architecture is equity that pays you forever. Shares in companies, ownership in products, royalties from intellectual property, real estate that cash flows, whether you're awake or not. Equity is where wealth compounds in silence. It's not loud, it's not instant, but it's permanent, and permanence, in a world of noise, is a superpower. You are not here to build quick money. You are here to build lasting leverage. Income architecture is how you do it. Strategically, deliberately, and relentlessly. This is not optional. It is the foundation of your financial empire. Without it, you are building on sand. With it, you are untouchable. You are untouchable. You are...
Chapter 4. Ownership over labor. There is a dangerous myth embedded deep in society's bloodstream that hard work alone will make you rich. It's seductive, isn't it? The romanticism of grinding, the applause for burning out, the pride in being the first in and the last out. We've been taught to equate struggle with virtue, labor with honor, and time spent with value. But here's the truth, that the wealthy know and the rest resist. Hard work without ownership is enslavement with applause. You can work 10 times harder than the person next to you, but if you do not control the outcome, you are not building, you are renting your effort. Labor will sustain you, but only ownership will set you free. Look closely at every system that has created wealth in this world. At the core, there is one common denominator: ownership. The business owner owns the system that employees labor within. The investor owns the asset that generates returns without physical input. The creator owns the intellectual property that pays dividends long after the work is done. And the laborer, They show up, clock in, produce, and leave empty-handed when the engine stops. This is not an attack on labor, it is a call to rise above it. Because as long as your income is tied to labor you don't own, your ceiling is fixed. Your freedom is conditional. Your time is mortgaged. You must begin transitioning from worker to owner. Not by quitting everything tomorrow, but by shifting your mindset today. Ask yourself, do I own the process I'm involved in? Can I license what I create? Can I automate my role and extract myself from the system? Can I turn my skill into a product, a brand, or an asset? The answers to these questions are the blueprint of your liberation. And ownership is not just external, it begins internally. You must own your time, own your attention, own your decisions. Stop handing them to bosses, clients, algorithms, or trends. Stop asking for permission to think, to build, to believe in your own vision. You'll be tempted to keep playing it safe, to stay in the job that feels stable, to keep exchanging effort for a reliable number on a paycheck. But remember this, stability without ownership is a gilded cage. And the longer you stay in it, the more you convince yourself that the key doesn't exist. It does, but it requires courage. The courage to bet on yourself, the courage to fail publicly, the courage to detach from praise and criticism alike. Because when you step into ownership, the spotlight is yours, and so is the responsibility. That's why most avoid it. Because ownership means you are the reason it works, and also the reason it doesn't. But for those who embrace it, a new level of power emerges, one where your time serves your mission, your money multiplies your vision, and your labor is only a temporary phase in a much larger design. The people you admire, they are not laboring harder than you. They are simply controlling more of the outcome. That's the game. And starting now, it's yours to play. Underscore, 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 ownership. It is a necessity for anyone seeking real financial sovereignty. In a world that runs on contracts, intellectual property and systems, those who hold the rights are those who hold the power. The person who builds the machine may be celebrated, but the person who owns it is the one who gets paid forever. This is the difference between builders and rulers. A builder constructs, a ruler controls. You must become both. The first step toward ownership is recognizing where you've already given it away. Are you working in a business where your ideas enrich someone else's equity? Are you creating content that lives on platforms you don't control? Are you building a brand for your employer while neglecting your own name? Each of these situations may feel safe until the contract ends, the platform bans you, or the company pivots. Then you're left with nothing but your labor and a resume that says you helped someone else build a castle you never had keys to. That's not strategy. That's risk in disguise. The wealthy minimize risk not by avoiding danger, but by controlling the terrain. They create their own leverage through assets, processes, systems, and IP. They don't just work for money. They build things that produce money. That's what ownership does. It shifts your role from performer to producer, and production is power. So how do you begin transitioning from labor to ownership? You start by building something small that is fully yours. It could be a digital product, a piece of intellectual property, a specialized offer, or a brand you control. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to exist outside of anyone's permission. From there you iterate, you test, you improve, but most importantly, you retain control. Your name is on it. Your equity grows with it. Your time compounds into something permanent. This is where many get it wrong. They chase immediate money, signing away rights and control just to see faster results. But speed is not leverage if it leads to dependence. What you want is scalability and sovereignty. That means making choices now that may delay gratification, but create lasting gain. Do not be seduced by quick payouts if they rob you of equity. Do not chase contracts that make you disposable. Do not let short-term applause distract you from long-term positioning. Because ownership isn't glamorous until it is. It's slow, often lonely, and misunderstood. But it's also the only path where you are the gatekeeper of your destiny. Eventually, everything you own becomes a force multiplier. One product becomes a brand. One system becomes a portfolio. One decision to retain control becomes the reason you never have to ask anyone for anything again. And that's the end game, not just to be rich, but to be sovereign. To wake up with full authority over your time, your energy, and your income. It doesn't matter how you start. Consulting, freelancing, creating content, building a business. What matters is that you don't stop at labor. You evolve. You productize. You invest in assets. And you refuse to build someone else's empire at the cost of your own. Ownership isn't a status. It's a strategy. And every day you operate without it, you're working in someone else's system, following someone else's rules, earning just enough to stay where you are. Break that cycle. Own something, even if it's small, even if it's messy, because that seed of ownership, once planted, grows faster than any paycheck ever could. Underscore, 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 underscore. Ownership is not a one-time decision. It's a way of life. A lens through which every opportunity, every partnership, and every commitment must be evaluated. If you don't ask who controls the outcome, you're not negotiating, you're volunteering. Let that sink in. Every contract you sign, every job you accept, every platform you build on, someone owns the infrastructure. If it's not you, your influence is conditional, your income is fragile. Your growth is capped. Ownership is the antidote to this fragility. It's what turns temporary effort into permanent reward. It's what makes your time exponentially more valuable. Because you're not just producing output, you're building equity. But don't confuse ownership with ego. Ownership is not about controlling everything. It's about having decision-making power. It's about having skin in the game. It's about ensuring that when value is created, you receive more than a thank you email. You receive ongoing upside. Think like a founder, not a follower. Even within your current work, even if you're still in a job, ask yourself, can I negotiate profit sharing? Can I retain rights to the content I create? Can I build a parallel asset that's mine while delivering value to others? This is how real players move. They don't burn bridges. They build alternatives. The goal is not rebellion. It's alignment. You're not rejecting structure. You're choosing to own it. The world is full of talented, hard-working people stuck in cycles. Why? Because they never shifted their question from how much can I earn to what do I control. You can earn a high income and still be broke in power. But once you control something, even something small, you shift from being a cost to being a creator. And creators write the rules. Look at the most admired brands, entrepreneurs.
thinkers and investors. What they share is not just skill, it's ownership. They own their ideas, their products, their platforms, their voices. That's why they are free to pivot, to speak, to scale without restraint. That freedom is not granted, it's built. Every step you take toward ownership, no matter how small, is a rebellion against dependency. It's a rejection of the belief that someone else must sign your check to validate your worth. And it's a reminder that you are the architect, not the laborer, of your future. So start now. Own your name, own your output, own your niche, even if it's just a domain name, a one-page site, a small offer, a single client. Because ownership compounds, it builds silently, and then it explodes. But only for those who had the foresight to build when no one was watching. This chapter ends, but the mindset does not. From this point forward, let every decision filter through a single powerful question. Do I own this, or am I just working for it? If it's the latter, then it's time to redesign the blueprint. Redesign the blueprint.
Chapter 5. Leverage and Scale. There is a ceiling to hard work, a limit to what your body and hours can produce. But there is no ceiling to leverage. This is where the wealth gap widens, not because the rich work harder, but because they work through systems that multiply their output. Leverage is the silent engine of scale. It is how one person reaches millions, how one idea becomes a movement, how one action yields 100 returns. Most people don't use leverage. They rely solely on themselves, on their own effort, time, attention. This makes them fragile, slow, and exhausted. But leverage changes the rules. The wealthy understand that there are 4 kinds of leverage. Each one, when understood and applied, expands your capacity far beyond your personal limits. 1. People-human leverage. This is the traditional form: teams, employees, collaborators. You multiply your impact by outsourcing execution. But this form also requires management, leadership, and trust. Done right, a team becomes a force multiplier. Done wrong, it becomes an anchor. Hire slowly, delegate strategically, build a team that runs without you, not because of you. 2. Money capital leverage. This is where your money works harder than you. Investing, buying equity, acquiring assets, all forms of putting capital to work to earn more. You must stop seeing money as something to spend and start seeing it as a tool for buying time and opportunity. The wealthy aren't afraid to invest because they understand capital is the ultimate employee. It doesn't sleep, complain, or need weekends. 3. Code technological leverage. This is modern power, software, automation, platforms. You build something once, and it serves thousands or millions. Think apps, tools, systems. This is how creators and coders scale with minimal marginal cost. You no longer need factories to scale, just lines of code working around the clock. 4. Media content leverage. The most overlooked and potent form of leverage today. You create an idea, a video, a podcast, a post, and it spreads while you sleep. Your message, once confined to conversations, now reaches thousands without you being there. This is how personal brands, movements, and tribes are built. Attention is the new oil, and content is the pipeline. The key to lasting wealth is combining these forms. Use people to run the systems. Use capital to buy time. Use code to build structure. Use content to build reach. The average person thinks in effort. The wealthy think in multiplication. Instead of asking, "How can I do this faster?" they ask, "How can I never do this again and still benefit from it?" That's the core of scale. Removal, not addition. It's not about doing more. It's about doing it once, and letting the systems carry it forward. And yet, most resist leverage. Why? Because it requires trust, release of control, and long-term thinking. It's easier to just do it yourself. But that mindset keeps you small. The moment you build a machine bigger than you stop being the bottleneck and start being the architect. This is the shift. You are not here to work your entire life. You are here to build a structure so sound that your work becomes unnecessary, and your vision continues anyway. Underscore, 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 underscore. All real game is not just leverage. It's intelligent leverage. Leverage applied with precision, clarity, and long-term vision. Because not all growth is good, not all scale is sustainable, and not all attention is profitable. You can go viral and still go broke. You can hire a team and end up more stressed. You can automate your business and lose connection with your customer. This is why you must scale with intention, not from ego, not from urgency, but from architecture. Let's define intelligent scale. It's the deliberate expansion of value while reducing dependency on personal effort. Not growth for growth's sake, but evolution that aligns with your deepest outcomes: freedom, control, and impact. This kind of scale requires systems, and systems are not just software. Systems are rules, habits, processes, clear definitions of how things operate with or without your presence. Without systems, scale becomes chaos. More customers mean more problems, more revenue means more complexity, and you end up working harder to sustain the very success that was supposed to liberate you. But with systems, every new layer of growth becomes easier, not harder, because the foundation has been engineered to carry it. So ask yourself, what are you doing repeatedly that could be automated or documented? Where are you still the bottleneck? What would break if you doubled your income or client base tomorrow? These questions aren't theoretical. They are strategic diagnostics. If your income can't scale without more effort, it's not a business, it's a demanding job in disguise. And here's a deeper truth: scale doesn't start with tools, it starts with mindset. People often ask, what tools do I need to scale? But the better question is, what thinking do I need to unlearn? You need to unlearn that working harder is the answer. You need to unlearn that no one can do it as well as you. You need to unlearn that perfection matters more than momentum. Perfection kills momentum. Control kills leverage. And overthinking kills scale. Your job is not to do everything. Your job is to design how everything gets done. This is why builders become CEOs, not because they are the best at every role, but because they know how to build the system that holds it all together. In your life, you must become the CEO of your finances, your energy, your decisions. Start seeing your projects as systems. Start seeing your habits as assets or liabilities. Start building as if one day you will want to step back without everything falling apart, because that day will come. Leverage is the quiet work done today that creates explosive returns tomorrow. And those who understand this move differently. They don't rush, they build, slowly, strategically. So when growth hits, they don't scramble, they scale, they are prepared, they aren't chasing more work. They're building engines that do the work for them. This is not just about wealth, it's about time reclamation. Every system you build is time purchased back from the future. And in the end, that's the only real currency. Underscore, 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 underscore,
underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore, underscore. The difference between surviving and thriving is no longer about how many hours you work. It's about how well you deploy leverage. In a world saturated with opportunities, those who scale strategically are not just richer, they're freer, calmer, and infinitely more effective. But here's the secret: leverage doesn't have to be loud. Some of the most successful, quietly wealthy individuals are masters of invisible systems. They've built teams that operate independently, products that sell themselves, and content that earns them influence while they sleep. They don't scream for attention, they let their systems speak for them. Your goal is not to do more, your goal is to build once and benefit many times. And that begins with designing every piece of your work to outlive the moment. A well-written document becomes a course. A client solution becomes a process template. A valuable conversation becomes a podcast. Every action, every insight, every result can be multiplied if you are thinking in terms of scale. But there's a trap here: false leverage. This is where you stack tools, tactics, and platforms without structure. You think you're scaling, but you're just creating noise. You're doing more, not multiplying impact. Tools are only powerful when plugged into systems. Systems are only effective when driven by clear outcomes. So don't confuse busyness with progress. Every lever you pull should serve one thing: efficient value creation. Efficiency is the secret weapon of scale. It's not about doing things fast. It's about removing everything unnecessary. It's about making fewer, higher quality decisions. It's about building the machine so you can step away from the wheel. And here's where few have the discipline to follow through: letting go. Letting go of needing to do it all. Letting go of emotional attachments to outdated processes. Letting go of your ego's belief that you are the only one capable of delivering the result. Letting go is what opens the door to scaling with clarity. Because when you stop clinging to the grind, you start thinking like a strategist. You begin hiring not to reduce your pain, but to increase your reach. You invest not to look successful, but to unlock freedom. You simplify not to cut corners, but to create repeatability. Repeatability is the heartbeat of scale. If something works once, great. If something works again and again, without you, under pressure, across platforms, through people, that's when you know you've built a real system. That's when wealth becomes structural. That's when freedom is no longer a fantasy. It's the byproduct of design. So ask yourself now, what systems do I need to build in the next 90 days? What am I still doing manually that should be automatic? Where am I still the only point of failure in my income? These aren't just productivity questions, they're freedom questions. Your answers will determine how quickly you ascend and how long you can stay there. Because growth without scale is fragile, and income without systems is temporary. Build for the long game. Build with leverage. And remember, wealth isn't won by the one who works the hardest. It's won by the one who builds the smartest. Builds the smartest.
Chapter 6. Strategic spending. Most people don't have a money problem. They have a management problem. They don't need more income. They need more intention. Because no matter how much you earn, if you don't know how to control and deploy it, money will always flow out faster than it flows in. The wealthy treat money like a commander treats troops. Every dollar has a job. Every transaction is a strategy, and nothing is spent without purpose. This isn't frugality. This is power management. Because spending is not just about consumption. It's about control. Your ability to control your financial energy, your capital, is what separates sustained wealth from temporary windfalls. The average person spends to feel something: relief, status, escape, celebration. But strategic spending is emotionless. It's deliberate. It's a reflection of who you want to become, not who you're trying to impress. This means asking better questions. Does this spend move me closer to freedom? Will this asset produce a return, or just a dopamine hit? Is this purchase solving a problem, or creating a new one? These questions form the basis of financial clarity. Clarity reveals the truth behind your decisions. Are you upgrading because you need it, or because you're bored? Are you subscribing to another tool because it's essential, or because it feels productive? Are you eating out daily because it's efficient, or because you haven't planned? Everything you do with money is a mirror, and the reflection shows whether you are building discipline or bleeding opportunity. The wealthy don't hoard money, they deploy it. But they deploy it with the same intensity and calculation as an investor placing capital into a high-stakes venture. They know their numbers, not just income and expenses, but margins, burn rates, reinvestment ratios, and cash flow cycles. They treat their personal finances like a lean business: no waste, no bloat, no blind spots. This is where financial power is built, not in making a fortune, but in keeping and directing it. When you spend strategically, you turn money into leverage. You invest in systems that reduce time costs. You hire people who increase output. You buy access to networks, tools, environments, and education that return far more than they cost. Every dollar becomes an investment, either in your future or in someone else's. So slow down. Audit. Analyze. Not to restrict yourself, but to align yourself. Because money, at its core, is just energy. And where you send that energy reveals what you value. If your values are scattered, so will be your finances. But if your values are clear, your spending becomes an extension of your strategy, not your insecurity. Underscore, 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 all strategic. Spending is about building a life that serves you, not impresses others. The moment you detach from external validation, your finances begin to breathe. You no longer buy to prove. You buy to empower. That's the shift from performance to precision. Let's be honest, much of modern spending is theater. New cars, expensive clothes, luxury rentals, they're rarely about utility. They're about optics. They exist to tell a story, not to solve a problem. But every dollar spent to tell someone else you're successful is a dollar stolen from your actual success. So stop trying to look rich. Focus on becoming powerful. Strategic spending is brutally pragmatic. It doesn't care about trends or comparison. It's concerned only with outcome. Ask yourself this before every major expense. Does this tool help me earn, grow, or protect capital? Will this commitment produce freedom or friction? Is this truly a priority, or just a distraction in disguise? If your spending doesn't create momentum, it's just friction wearing a nice outfit. But don't mistake this for minimalism. Strategic spending isn't about deprivation. It's about alignment. It's about spending freely on the things that matter and ruthlessly cutting the things that don't. The wealthy don't blink when investing in tools that save them time, advisors that sharpen their thinking, or experiences that expand their worldview. They spend boldly,
but never blindly. And that's the key difference. They don't confuse price with value. They understand that a $500 course that changes your mindset is infinitely more valuable than a $5,000 bag that sits in a closet. They know that hiring the right person could save them 100 hours, while trying to do it all themselves costs them focus and opportunity. This is how money becomes a multiplier, not a mirror. Most people spend to feel better about where they are. Strategic thinkers spend to move closer to where they want to be. So what does this look like in practice? It looks like investing in knowledge before entertainment, prioritizing tools that build income over ones that display status, spending more on things that eliminate recurring problems, saying no to what's nice in favor of what's necessary. Strategic spending is also about rhythm. Create rituals around reviewing your finances. Weekly, monthly, quarterly. Track not just what you spent but why. What triggered it? Was it planned or reactive? Did it produce ROI, financial, emotional, or energetic? Over time you'll start to see patterns. You'll notice the traps you fall into, the places you consistently overspend, the recurring costs that no longer serve you. And this is where true wealth begins, not in avoiding spending but in mastering it. Because when your money is aligned with your mission, it flows with ease. When your spending reflects discipline, you're never broke, you're just focused. And when your finances are driven by strategy, you don't need to count every penny, because every dollar already has a purpose. Underscore, 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 stirs. To master wealth, you must master allocation, not just of money, but of energy, attention, and intention. And that mastery starts with a principle too many ignore: every dollar has a job. If your money is unemployed, it will find its own distractions, and those distractions are rarely productive. Think of your capital like a workforce. You are the CEO. Every dollar must be assigned to work, to rest, to return. This is the framework of the elite. They don't just save money, they position it. They don't spend reactively, they deploy intentionally. And they don't tolerate waste, not out of fear but out of respect for what their money can become when directed with precision. Let's make it practical. 3 categories for every dollar you control. 1. Protection. This is your foundation. Emergency funds, insurance, contingency buffers. It's not exciting, but it's vital. You don't grow during chaos. You survive because of preparation. 2. Growth. These are your investments, skills, relationships, and systems. This is where the multiplication begins. Every dollar here should have the potential to bring back more than it cost. 3. Lifestyle. These are the costs of living, comfort, enjoyment. They matter, but they must be designed, not bloated. If your lifestyle costs rise faster than your income, you're scaling dysfunction, not success. Most people spend in reverse order: lifestyle first, growth maybe, protection last. The wealthy invert it. They protect first, they grow second, and they reward themselves from the fruit, not the seed. Understand this distinction. If you eat the seed, you'll stay broke. If you plant it, you'll grow an orchard. This is what strategic spending looks like at scale. It's not a budget. It's a philosophy, a filter through which all your decisions pass. Should you take that vacation? Should you buy that car? Should you invest in that mentor, tool, or asset? The answer is never binary. It depends on where you are in your game. Are you still building your foundation or scaling your system? Are you rewarding progress or avoiding discipline? Strategic spending demands that you know yourself, not just your numbers, but your patterns, your defaults, your emotional triggers. Because here's the truth: wealth is not destroyed by lack of income. It's destroyed by unconscious spending, by chasing status, by medicating boredom with consumption, by trying to impress people who aren't watching. You must exit that cycle with awareness, with strategy, with design. And when you do, money begins to serve you quietly, powerfully, obediently. Because now you command it. You tell it where to go. You control the flow. And in that control lies the foundation of wealth, not just in numbers, but in confidence. Confidence that you're no longer leaking power. Confidence that your money is working as hard as you do. Confidence that every dollar you touch moves with purpose. This is the hidden flex of the truly wealthy. Not the car, not the clothes, but the calm certainty that nothing is wasted, that nothing is wasted, that...
Chapter 7. Investment thinking money sitting idle is potential wasted. You cannot earn your way to lasting wealth. Not through salary, not through hustle, not through hustle, not even through high income. Lasting wealth is born when your money works harder than you do, when it becomes a living engine, producing results while you sleep, rest, and strategize. That is the purpose of investment. But not all investment is created equal. Investment thinking isn't about chasing stock tips or gambling on crypto. It's not about hype. It's about architecture. A mental framework that treats capital as a soldier, deployed with intent, positioned for return, evaluated on performance. This is where most people fall short. They think of investing as an event: buy this, sell that. But true investors operate differently. They think in terms of systems, ecosystems, long arcs of time. They aren't reacting to noise, they're building fortresses that compound. The first mindset shift is this: you are no longer a consumer of money, you are a commander of capital. Your job is to direct it wisely, into assets that appreciate, into ventures that cash flow, into tools that amplify, into people who multiply. The moment you make this shift, every financial decision takes on new gravity. You don't just spend, you allocate. You don't just earn, you invest. You don't just save, you strategize. And the question changes from how much can I afford, to what return will this produce, financially, energetically, or strategically. Because in investment thinking, return is not always money. Sometimes it's time saved. Sometimes it's peace of mind. Sometimes it's opening a door that would have stayed closed. The average person waits to have enough to invest. But the investor knows the game begins where you are. You invest now. You invest early. You invest intelligently. What matters most is not the amount, but the consistency and the intention. Even small amounts, when compounded over time, turn into empires, if the system is sound, and sound systems are boring. They don't chase hype. They prioritize fundamentals, real assets, diversified exposure, understandable vehicles, long horizons. Because the goal is not to get rich quick, it's to never be poor again. Investment thinking means you don't chase windfalls, you build streams, multiple, steady, compounding. This is how real wealth is born, not through luck, but through architecture. The wealthy don't gamble. They position, they play the long game. They study cycles, they respect cash flow, they protect downside, and they're never in a rush. because they know what they've built cannot be undone by temporary fluctuations. This is the calm confidence of investment thinkers. They've divorced emotion from decision. They've turned strategy into ritual. And they understand that the real asset isn't the stock, the property, or the business. It's the mindset that knows what to do with any of them. Underscore, 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 underscore. Investment is less about what you buy and more about how you think before you buy it. Most people invest emotionally. They chase trends, react to headlines, follow social noise. They move with the crowd, not realizing that the crowd is almost always late. The smart money, quiet, strategic, long-term, is already positioned by the time the average person hears about an opportunity. The difference isn't access, it's discipline. Investment thinkers move with patience. They do not need constant stimulation. They do not refresh stock apps obsessively. They play chess, not slots. Why? Because they've adopted the core rule of wealth preservation. Return of capital is more important than return on capital. Meaning, it's not just about making money. It's about not losing what you've already earned. This single principle filters every decision they make. They don't invest in what they don't understand. They don't overextend. They don't get greedy when things are good or fearful when things go quiet. They trust the process because they built the process. And that's the second law of investment thinking. Systems outperform emotions. You need a system, a repeatable, measured, unemotional approach to investing. Your system doesn't need to be flashy. It just needs to be clear. How do you decide what to invest in? How much risk are you willing to take? What's your ideal timeline? How do you protect yourself from loss? When will you exit, and why? Write it down, follow it, evolve it, but don't improvise. Because emotion makes people poor. Discipline builds dynasties. Investment thinking also requires a clear hierarchy of focus. 1. Protect what you have. First rule, don't lose money unnecessarily. 2. Make money work. Idle cash is wasted energy. Deploy with care. 3. Expand intelligently. Add exposure once your foundation is solid. 4. Buy back time. Use capital to reduce friction and expand freedom. This is not a sprint. This is slow, methodical domination. Investment thinking turns chaos into opportunity. When the markets drop, the untrained panic. The investor prepares. When the noise rises, the untrained reacts. The investor tunes out. When cash is tight, the untrained freezes. The investor finds flow, because the investor isn't dependent on luck. They've replaced wishful thinking with frameworks. They're not trying to be right, they're trying to be consistent. This mindset extends beyond money. You invest in your network, in your health, in your attention, in your skill set, because all of them produce returns, some visible, some invisible, but all critical. Investment thinking is a worldview, a discipline of compounding, where every decision either buys your future or borrows from it, where every opportunity is filtered through clarity, not urgency, where your wealth isn't loud, but inevitable. Underscore, 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 You must begin to see wealth as a game of positioning, not speed, not effort, positioning. The right move made once and held with conviction will outperform 1,000 anxious trades. The investor's edge is not in activity, it's in clarity, timing, and restraint. But here's what most people don't realize. The greatest investments are rarely financial at first. They're internal, they're foundational, they compound silently before they ever show up on a statement. When you invest in self-control, you stop sabotaging your gains. When you invest in knowledge, you avoid expensive mistakes. When you invest in patience, you allow compounding to do its magic. That is the true rhythm of investment thinking, slow, quiet, exponential. The biggest returns don't come from hitting home runs. They come from avoiding catastrophe, moving early, and sticking around long enough to benefit from time. Time is the investor's greatest partner, and the undisciplined person's greatest enemy. Understand this: you don't need dozens of investments to build wealth. You need a few intelligent positions held with consistency and courage. Most people spread themselves thin. They dabble, they over-diversify, they chase. But wealth builders go deep. They study, they commit, they monitor and refine. They know that the more they understand something, the more leverage they can extract from it. That's where confidence is born, not in randomness, but in repetition. The ability to make the same smart decision 100 times, even when no one is watching, even when results are slow. This discipline is what separates financial freedom from financial friction. And here's the hard truth: you must invest before you feel ready. You'll never feel like you know enough. You'll always be tempted to wait until the timing is perfect. The market is calm, the income is higher, but timing is a myth. The only real timing that matters is your decision to begin. Because once you begin, once you commit to becoming an investor, not just with your money but with your life, you step into a world where everything compounds, your relationships deepen, your skills sharpen, your opportunities expand, your money starts to mirror your mindset. This is what it means to become a strategist, not a spender, not a gambler, not a hoarder, a strategist, one who plants now to harvest later, one who uses every dollar, every minute, every decision as a seed, and trusts the process to do what it always does, for those who build with vision. So step into the mindset now, not someday, not when it's safe, now, because the greatest investment you will ever make is the one you're ready to act on today, to act on today, to... Chapter 8. Adaptability and timing in wealth. As in war, timing can determine everything. You can have the right strategy, the right vision, the right work ethic, but if you move at the wrong time or refuse to move when the environment shifts, you lose. Adaptability is the investor's agility. Timing is their stealth weapon. Together they allow you to navigate chaos with confidence and even turn that chaos into capital. Most people resist change. They cling to routine. They build rigid systems and identities that collapse under disruption. But the wealthy understand that flexibility is leverage, not just to survive, but to seize advantage when others freeze. The market doesn't care about your comfort. Economies shift, industries collapse, technology evolves, and if you're too slow to adapt, you get left behind, or worse, crushed. But here's the truth. Chaos isn't the enemy, it's signal. Volatility doesn't mean run, it means recalibrate. Adaptable thinkers move with precision in uncertain times. They don't panic when the winds shift, they adjust the sails. They've trained themselves to ask the critical question, what does this moment demand of me now? Not last year, not 5 years from now. Now, that question unlocks opportunity, because opportunity rarely arrives wrapped in comfort. It often shows up as confusion, turmoil, disruption, and those who are too rigid, too slow, too attached to their old models, they miss it. But those who stay fluid, those who remain alert, those who evolve faster than the landscape, they position themselves perfectly. This is what separates the static earners from the dynamic wealth builders. The static ones rely on what worked before. The dynamic ones constantly test, tweak, and reinvent. They're not obsessed with being right. They're obsessed with getting it right, whatever it now requires. Adaptability is the mindset that asks, what's changing around me? What needs to change within me? Where is the edge now? And how do I reach it? Because the edge is always moving. Today's advantage becomes tomorrow's average. Yesterday's innovation becomes today's standard. If you're not willing to outgrow your past strategies, they become your prison. This is why the wealthy evolve continuously. They don't tie their identity to one product, one platform, one career. They tie it to agility. They pivot when needed. They upgrade constantly. They stay relevant by staying curious. Because timing belongs to those who are ready, before the rest realize it's time to move. Underscore, 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 underscore. Adaptability isn't passive. It's not waiting for the world to change and then reacting. It's proactive evolution. It's building the habit of constantly asking what's next and how do I position myself before everyone else does. The most successful individuals in any era weren't just intelligent, they were early. They sensed the shift. They listened to the whispers before they became roars. They didn't need certainty to act, they needed conviction. This is the power of timing. It's not about prediction, it's about preparation. It's about having dry powder when the market dips. It's about being skilled and nimble when old models collapse. It's about recognizing momentum, not after it becomes obvious, but when it's just beginning. Timing rewards those who do the boring work in quiet seasons. The late nights, the systems, the cash reserves, the relationship building when no one is watching. Then when the world shifts and everyone else scrambles for footing, you're already in position. And yet, adaptability is not just about market timing. It's about identity fluidity. Who you were 5 years ago won't win today's game. What made you valuable then may not matter now. The skill that once put you ahead may now be the baseline. To thrive, you must be willing to shed skin, to outgrow your old narratives, to stop being loyal to strategies that no longer serve you. Adaptable people don't fall in love with methods, they fall in love with results. If a method stops producing, they drop it, without ego, without attachment. That's strength, that's maturity. That's how power survives across decades, not just quarters. But adaptability also demands one more thing: self-honesty. The ability to look at your own model and say, this isn't working anymore. The humility to kill a strategy that's outdated. The wisdom to recognize when momentum has moved elsewhere. Most people avoid this moment. They double down on what feels familiar. They cling to outdated roles, businesses, routines, not because they work, but because they're safe. But safety is the enemy of scale. Comfort is the enemy of innovation. And timing punishes those who ignore the signals. To win this game, you must constantly monitor 3 timelines. 1.
Past, what did I learn from what didn't work? What data am I ignoring because of pride? 2. Present, what are the patterns I see right now? Where is energy flowing? 3. Future, where is the wave forming? What am I doing to be ready to ride it? This constant feedback loop is what sharpens your timing. Not guesswork, not speculation, observation, calibration, execution. You don't need to be a genius to master timing. You just need to be more alert than average and more willing to move when it's still uncomfortable. Because by the time it's obvious to everyone else, it's already expensive. Underscore, 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 underscore. Adaptability is not just a response to change, it is a strategy for creating it. Those who wait for change to reach them are already too late. The truly strategic don't chase momentum, they build it. They don't ride waves, they make the wave. This requires vision, but more than vision, it requires the courage to move before it feels safe. There is always a window, small, silent, often invisible, when timing is perfect. Not too early, not too late, just right. That window is rarely crowded. Most people hesitate. They want confirmation. They want validation. They want someone else to make the move first. But by the time the crowd arrives, the opportunity is diluted. The market is saturated. The margins are thinner. The leverage is gone. This is the gift of the adaptable strategist. They act in obscurity and benefit in visibility. They do the hard, uncertain work early. They make bold, informed bets when others are still seeking reassurance. And they aren't afraid to pivot, not because they failed, but because the terrain changed. Adaptability means you update your approach when the environment demands it. It means you're not loyal to your last success, you're loyal to your next opportunity. This is why adaptability is a daily discipline, not an occasional adjustment. It shows up in your routines. Are you reviewing your systems regularly? Are you questioning assumptions you used to swear by? Are you seeking uncomfortable truths, or just clinging to familiar lies? It shows up in your circle. Are the people around you challenging your perspective? Are they sharp, dynamic, future-focused? Or are they anchored in nostalgia and fear? Because adaptation doesn't happen in isolation. You adapt faster when you're surrounded by others who are also evolving. And above all, adaptability shows up in your identity. Can you let go of who you were to become who you need to be next? That is the hardest pivot of all. Not changing your website, not updating your pricing, but letting go of an identity that no longer matches your mission. To win in this new world, this fast, shifting, chaotic world, you need fluidity. Rigidity is death. Flexibility is survival. But intentional evolution, that's domination. So from this point on, don't just prepare for change. Be the change. Drive it. Initiate it. Shape it. Let others react while you lead. Because wealth doesn't just follow strategy. It follows movement, and movement belongs to those willing to shift before the world says go or the world says go.
Chapter 9. Protection and power. Building wealth is one game. Protecting it is another entirely. Most people spend all their energy trying to earn more, with little thought to what happens once they do. But what's the point of constructing an empire if it can be taken from you overnight? Wealth without protection is a house without a foundation. It looks impressive until pressure hits. Then it crumbles. The truly wealthy don't just build, They fortify. They're not paranoid. They're prepared. They understand that success attracts complexity. More attention, more obligations, more risk, more exposure. And so they evolve from creators to guardians. Because the final form of wealth isn't accumulation, it's control. Control over your assets, your privacy, your intellectual property, your legal standing, your time. Let's start here. Privacy is leverage. The more people know about your moves, your money, your methods, the more vulnerable you become. You don't owe the world access to your strategy. Operate with discretion. Let results speak louder than announcements. Next, legal structure is armor. If your income, assets and brand are exposed under your personal name, you're walking through a battlefield with no shield. You need protection, and entities to hold and separate different forms of income. Trusts, corporations or LLCs to define liability. Contracts that safeguard your interests before things get messy. Don't wait until you're wealthy to think like someone who is. Set the systems now. The cost of prevention is always lower than the cost of reaction. Now consider, power without boundaries attracts leeches. If everyone can access you, drain your time, ask for favors or stake claims to your attention, you're not in control, you're being controlled. This is why boundaries are more than personal, they're strategic. Protect your calendar, protect your inbox, protect your mind, because the more valuable you become, the more critical it is to guard your energy. Not out of arrogance, but out of responsibility. You are no longer just a person, you are an ecosystem, and ecosystems thrive through protection. Finally, cash flow is your defense line. Many build flashy assets that look impressive, but don't sustain themselves. A true empire runs on reliable, controllable income. This is what pays the lawyers, funds the protection, handles the unknowns. Cash flow is what buys stability in chaos. Don't just chase equity, build resilience. Your first priority is not how fast you can grow, it's how well you can defend. Because the world rewards those who move fast, but it remembers those who last. Underscore 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 the score, 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 score. Because once you've built something valuable, the world will test it. Competitors will notice. Opportunists will circle, systems will shift, mistakes will surface. And if your foundation is weak, you'll fall not from failure, but from exposure. This is why protection is not optional. It is mandatory infrastructure. You must think like a fortress architect. Not just building high towers of income, but reinforcing every wall that could crack under pressure. Start with your information layer. What are you sharing publicly that should remain private? Many sabotage their own protection by oversharing their wins, strategies, and wealth. Visibility is useful, but uncontrolled exposure is vulnerability. Operate with asymmetry. Let people see the surface. Keep the engine beneath hidden and fortified. Then look at your contracts and partnerships. Nothing should be a handshake deal when value is involved. If you collaborate, clarify expectations in writing. If you share resources, define terms of exit. If you license, distribute, or affiliate, protect your brand and IP. The strongest power plays are silent ones. They happen behind NDAs, inside operating agreements, through strategic clauses. You don't need louder deals. You need smarter ones. Now consider insurance. not as a burden but as a moat. The wrong event at the wrong time can wipe out years of growth. Don't be reckless. Ensure what matters. Cover the assets that fund your future. The goal is not to live in fear, but to remove unnecessary risk from the equation. Next, diversify your power sources. If all your income flows from one stream, you are exposed. If all your access depends on one platform, you are vulnerable. If one person, vendor, or client has too much control over your system, you are not sovereign. True power is spread across resilient structures, multiple streams of income, independent platforms, decentralized operations, contingency plans if key roles disappear. Build like someone who expects disruption, because if you're not designing for chaos, you're gambling on peace. And finally, protect your mental edge. Power is not just structure, it's composure. A calm mind in a storm outperforms a brilliant plan built on panic. This means mastering stress, training for clarity under pressure, designing routines that protect your decision-making capacity when everything is on the line. Because when the world is falling apart, the calm thinker controls the board. This is what protection truly means, not just insurance and security, but strategic insulation from volatility. It's not about retreating, it's about fortifying. So you can move forward without fragility. You are not just building wealth, you are building durability, and with it, unshakable power. Underscore, 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 the score, the score, the score, the score, 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 the score, 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 the score, 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 score. Decisive action. It is the calm assurance that no matter what turbulence swirls around you, your foundation remains unshaken. This final principle in protection and power is about creating an environment where every risk is mitigated and every asset is defended with precision. Begin by reinforcing the most critical element, your decision-making autonomy. In every partnership, every contract, every public engagement, ensure that you maintain the ability to choose your own path without external constraints. Structure your agreements so that even if alliances shift, your core interests remain insulated. Next, build redundancies in every system. A single point of failure is a weakness that can be exploited in moments of vulnerability. Diversify your income channels, distribute your assets among different ventures, and always have a contingency plan. A resilient portfolio is not just about wealth accumulation, it is about creating a self-sustaining fortress that can weather any storm. Protection also extends to your personal energy. Guard your time, your focus and your creative space as zealously as you guard financial assets. Limit distractions, set firm boundaries, and cultivate an inner discipline that supports a clear mind. The calm, collected thinker who operates from a place of centered confidence is less likely to be derailed by the unpredictable forces of life. Finally, remember that power is as much about the unseen as it is about what is visible. The true master of wealth operates quietly and strategically, letting his safeguarded moves speak louder than any public display of force. The legacy of power is built not on noise, but on the unyielding, silent strength of well-crafted defenses and smart, measured actions. When you combine airtight protection with decisive power, you create an empire that not only grows but endures. This is your shield in a volatile world, a testament to your foresight, discipline, and uncompromising commitment to safeguarding what you have built. Chapter 10. Legacy engineering. Wealth is not the end. It is the beginning of something far more enduring: legacy. You did not build all this to merely retire quietly or indulge in temporary luxuries. You built it to matter, to outlive you, to shape futures long after your time here has ended. Legacy is not about monuments, it's about mechanisms. It is the system you leave behind that keeps producing value, opportunity, protection, and purpose for others. It is wealth with intention, wealth with architecture, wealth that lives on. The question is no longer, how do I earn? It becomes, how do I ensure this continues without me? This is the highest level of wealth mastery, designing permanence. Start with the most essential principle: transfer of wisdom. The greatest wealth isn't the cash, it's the thinking behind it. If your children inherit money but not your mindset, you've handed them a ticking clock. But if they inherit your principles, your frameworks, your systems, they have a map. Document everything. Your strategies, your failures, your decisions. Not for ego, but for clarity. So the next generation isn't guessing. They're continuing. Legacy isn't about giving people money. It's about giving them tools, responsibility, and perspective. Next, build structures that outlast you. Set up trusts, foundations, holding companies, entities that are governed by rules, not emotion. These structures can hold real estate, businesses, investments, everything you've built, ensuring they're not dissolved or mismanaged by those unprepared to handle them. Design with precision. What happens to your wealth in 10, 20, 50 years? Who manages it? Who benefits? Who makes decisions? Don't leave this to chance. Legacy is not passive. It is engineered, down to the finest detail. And remember, legacy is cultural, not just financial. What values will live on because of you? What behaviors will be normalized in your family, your company, your community, because of how you moved through the world? If wealth is a flame, legacy is the fire you spread. You must think beyond your own lifespan. Play the infinite game. Build systems that don't just serve you, but serve those who serve the vision. Because in the end, the true test of your wealth is not how high you rose, but how long what you built will stand. Underscore, 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 underscore. Legacy isn't just about passing something down. It's about passing something forward with structure, clarity, and momentum. Most people think legacy happens at the end, but legacy is built in every decision you make right now. It's not what you leave when you're gone. It's what you set in motion while you're here. That motion is created through intentional design. Start with your systems of continuity. If your income, business, or investments stop functioning the moment you do, you haven't built a legacy, you've built a dependency. Legacy systems are self-reinforcing. They operate through roles, not personalities. Through strategy, not guesswork. Through structure, not sentiment. Design every major component of your financial architecture to survive without you. Who takes over operations? How is leadership chosen? What values guide decision-making? What happens in a crisis? The more you answer now, the fewer questions your successors will have to wrestle with later. Next, invest in legacy leadership. This is the quiet, long-term work of developing the next generation, not just with knowledge, but with judgment. Mentorship isn't optional. If you want what you've built to continue, teach them how to think, not what to think. Expose them to the process, not just the results. Involve them early. not in the spotlight, but in the scaffolding. Legacy isn't a handout. It's a transfer of responsibility, gradually earned. Then embed your legacy into your structures of influence. How does your wealth continue to create opportunity for others? A scholarship fund aligned with your beliefs. A foundation that advances causes you care about. A publishing arm. A research lab. A venture fund. Whatever makes your ideas live beyond your presence. Because true legacy doesn't echo, it multiplies, and it multiplies through intelligent containers of purpose. Finally, protect your legacy from dilution. This means governance. Set up oversight, boards, trustees, legal mechanisms to ensure continuity of intent. You're not trying to control people, you're protecting vision. Because no matter how pure your intentions, time and misalignment erode even the most powerful structures, unless they are maintained by principle. The goal of legacy engineering is simple: to ensure your impact outlasts your involvement. To design a future you will never see, but one you still shape with deliberate action now. That is wealth at its highest expression, when you no longer need to be present to be powerful. Underscore, 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 underscore. Legacy is not the end of your wealth journey. It is its most powerful chapter. It is where your work transcends the temporary, where the fruits of your discipline, clarity, and strategy begin to feed people and purposes beyond your immediate reach. This is not charity. This is design, and it is the true mark of mastery. To engineer legacy is to think beyond yourself, but still through your lens of precision. This requires one final mindset shift. You are not just the builder, you are now the architect of time. You're no longer solving problems only for the present, you're engineering systems that will operate through decades, even centuries. This is the level where wealth becomes institutional. But institutions don't survive on money alone. They survive on values, on frameworks, on decisions made before they're needed. So think like a strategist in every future scenario. What happens if your successors disagree? How do you prevent mission drift? How do you ensure innovation continues without losing identity? What feedback loops are in place to course correct, adapt, and stay relevant? Legacy is not rigidity, it is evolving alignment. It adapts without losing its soul. It expands without becoming unrecognizable. It carries your voice even when your name fades. This is the final level of wealth mastery. You become a force, not by what you hold, but by what you've set in motion. And the final form of that motion is quiet power. Power that doesn't need attention. Power that exists in the systems you left behind. In the people you elevated, in the problems you helped solve at scale. You don't need your name on a building. Your legacy is in the mindset you cultivated, the frameworks you taught, the standard you raised for what it means to be strategic, sovereign, and impactful. You've moved through every layer, from survival to income, to control, to scale, to protection, and now, into permanence. This is the top of the mountain, and from here you see clearly, the game was never just about money. It was about becoming the kind of person who commands systems, not just salaries, who leads through vision, not noise, who invests in impact, not just optics. You've built the fortress. Now you've lit the beacon. Your legacy is no longer a question, it is a mechanism. It will run because you designed it to. And that is how you master wealth. Not through accumulation alone,
but through intelligent, intentional design that echoes long after your footsteps fade. The world may not remember your face, but it will move differently because of your decisions. And that is the real victory.
Conclusion. The final principle: wealth is not a destination. It is a decision. Not a one-time event, but a way of living, thinking, and acting daily. What you've read is not a blueprint to follow mindlessly, but a system to adapt, refine, and make your own. This journey isn't about formulas. It's about transformation. You now understand what most never will: that money is a tool, not a master. That income is nothing without ownership. That leverage, structure, and discipline matter more than effort alone. That true wealth is built in silence and protected with precision. And that legacy isn't what you leave behind, it's what you set in motion today. The principles inside this book will not reward you immediately. They will test you first. They will ask you to let go of old beliefs, confront your blind spots, and delay gratification in a world obsessed with urgency. But if you stay the course, if you build strategically, act decisively, and think like a sovereign instead of a subject, you will create something rare. Not just freedom, but dominance over your own time, energy, and future. This is your new standard. Never again think small. Never again settle for average. You've seen behind the curtain. You know what's possible. And from this moment forward, you are no longer building for survival. You are building for sovereignty, for impact, for eternity. The final principle is this: decide. Decide to lead. Decide to own. Decide to master the game. And then play it.